Good afternoon, everyone. I think in lieu of time, we'll go ahead and get started, and we can continue to let people in as they arrive in the waiting room. I'd like to welcome you to Campus Conversations. I'm Allison Smalley. I'm a Constituent Engagement Officer with advancement here at Central Michigan University. I have a few housekeeping items before we get started. Um, like I had said a little bit ago, you may have been in the room or not. Please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Thank you to everyone who started doing that as well. We do have everybody muted just to help with some feedback potential issues. We are asking for you to save your questions until the end, but if you would like to enter them into the chat so you don't forget, please go ahead and do so, and then we will have time for Q&A at the end. And Dean Ford's going to monitor the chat and help with that. We do encourage you to turn your video on if you feel comfortable. And also, this session will be recorded. We do find that some individuals are not able to attend after they register, so we will send that recording out afterwards. And then I will send you a survey along with that if you wouldn't mind sharing your feedback about the virtual event. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dean Ford.
Thanks so much, Allison. I appreciate it. And thanks for joining wherever you are. It's a beautiful day in Central Michigan. It's almost like summer is back. It's going to be warm and sunny today, so kind of looking forward to that. We have a lot of great things going on in the college, some of which we'll be sharing with you today. And we really do appreciate the chance to connect with you in this way through these campus conversations. So thanks so much for taking your time to be with us. Today, we're going to talk specifically about the student vehicle teams, which in my mind are really kind of at the pinnacle of project-based learning, something that I'm very passionate about and feel is an important part of learning in the STEM fields is sort of learning by doing. And I think these vehicle teams that you'll hear from are really at the apex of doing that with the sophistication and the complexity of the things that they're trying to do and trying to accomplish. We'll also update you a little bit on our rejuvenated relationship with the Engineering Society of Detroit, which we're really excited about. We've had a student chapter for some time, but we're really kicking that into higher gear, and we're partnering with them on several different initiatives that are very exciting to us. So, but you have people here more interesting than me to talk to. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our Baja team to kick things off.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to what we have to kind of share with you guys today. And thank you, Dean Ford, for a wonderful introduction. My name is Nick Agro. I'm currently the president of the Baja team. This is my third year on the team, and I will be graduating in May.
I'm Gavin Kelly. I'm currently the vice president, and this is my second year on the team and second year here at CMU. So we are Chippewa Performance. We operate under SAE, which is the Society of Automotive Engineers. Each year we're tasked with the job of designing, manufacturing, and then racing a car. And that's on an off-road track with pretty substantial terrain. So in class, as many of you know, we learn theory and practice. But this gives us like an actual opportunity to apply those theories and practices on actual problem solving and design with our own ideas. And we encounter those problems all the time. So we use things like welding, machining, lathe work, CAD, and many other things to actually get hands-on experience.
So we are a completely student-led organization here. Despite our wonderful advisor, Benjamin Ritter, who's in attendance here today, we do operate completely on our own. And it's not even just comprised of solely engineers. We incorporate all majors from business to even biology and interior design majors we have on the team. And as Gavin was saying, we really do like design and build and test everything that we are doing here with the skills that we learn in classes and even not so much. So just to kind of talk about what we're working on this year, This is our car that we'll be competing with this season. You can see from left to right kind of like our design process, where in the top left is the CAD drawing of the car. And then those sort of middle pictures are the assembly of the frame and the rest of the components for the systems. And then on the right is our wonderful president this past main stage in August. And he's looking very nice in that seat that we had out in the street there.
So one of the biggest changes and a pretty interesting challenge we're dealing with at the moment is four-wheel drive. So that adds a few things like a drive shaft and axles in the front. So if you look at the picture on the right, car number 85, you can see that that driver is pretty uncomfortable. This was a previous attempt at four-wheel drive, and you can see his knees are pretty pushed back. There's not a lot of space. It's not comfortable, and he's going to be sitting in that car for a while. So we combated this by basically doing what is in a real car. We moved the drive shaft below the floor plan, and we made what we're calling a drive shaft tunnel. So it creates a more ergonomic, a safer cockpit. And you can see the same driver in the new car while it was still in pieces. And you can just look at his legs and see how much more comfortable that is. And then if you pay attention to the feet there, you can see there's a lot more room. It's not as forced back. And that actually allowed for more packaging, simplification, as it says. So we lowered the diff, the brake master cylinders, the steering rack is all below there. And this is a great example of something we designed, tested, and manufactured ourselves.
So just to continue with some other innovations that we're implementing on this car, we're incorporating a lot more composite materials, such as the carbon fiber body panels and the 3D printed carbon fiber steering wheel you see on the right. We also have a new drive shaft design that allows for a more efficient power transfer from the transmission to the wheels. This is also our first chain-driven CMU Baja car, allowing for a much more compact transmission of power from the engine. We're also implementing a lot more electronic components onto our car to allow our electronic folks to have a heavier hand in what we're doing. So what this looks like is our front differential is electronically actuating to be able to lock and unlock for depending on the off-road terrain. We're also implementing new testing methods involving electronic components such as temperature, stress, and accelerometers. These allow us to gather all sorts of data and be able to further just prove that our design is better than the design we had prior to it.
So what we do, or the goal for us every single year is competition, as I kind of touched on earlier. So what that looks like is mainly a 4-hour endurance race. So as I said, that driver was going to be sitting in a car for a while. That's a race you go around a track as many times as you can in 4 hours, essentially. And a few other things that we're looking forward to or might see this year are hill climb, acceleration. One big one we're hoping for a lot of improvement on is the sled pull, because we're now four-wheel drive. And then suspension is changing as well, and maneuverability. So those are just a few examples of events we'll encounter.
So just to go over the importance of what we provide to our students here at Chippewa Performance, there's 3 big points here written out, but I'll just go over them really quickly. So we provide real-world engineering design projects for our team members. So we might learn all this theory in the classroom, but it really doesn't mean much unless we get to apply it. And that's certainly what we get to do here every single day with every single part of the car. We also teach teamwork and leadership. So not just the whole car, but like even the little systems that compose it require a lot of leadership to kind of take charge on how that looks each and every year. For example, our suspension just requires an intense knowledge of what's going on there. And then most importantly, in my opinion, we get to connect with a lot of professionals. So because we're operating under the Society of Automotive Engineers, the competitions that we attend are affiliated with a lot of big automotive brands such as Honda and Polaris, I know are really big ones. And when we go to these competitions, they are very eager to kind of hear from us and reach out about potential careers after we graduate.
So if we haven't emphasized enough, this is not just a local thing. This is country and actually internationally wide. So this year we're traveling quite a bit. In January, we're going to Houghton. And then later in the year, early next year, we're going to Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And then again in September down to Holly, which is not as far of a trip. But you can see on the right there, we've thrown together a few statistics of kind of what this takes time-wise, money, and just other resources. So it's pretty in-depth there. And we rely heavily on funding from our donors, although we greatly appreciate the facilities that Central is allowing us to use. It takes a pretty heavy financial toll. As you can see there on the right, the rough estimate of the car is around 35 grand. And that's including everything. And a lot of that comes from, I know we said we manufacture everything, but that's within reason. So there's certain things like shocks, struts, coils, tires, obviously, that we're just not going to be able to manufacture. And a big one there, you can see frame and body is $3,500. That's for mostly safety reasons and precision, just to make it a little bit better.
Finally, we'd like to just say thank you for kind of hearing us out, hearing what we're kind of operating over here at the engineering building. On this slide, you can find some of our contact information along with our social media accounts and our email. Feel free to, reach out to us, ask more questions. We're happy to talk.
Thank you. And we'd like to introduce the ESD.
Hold on.
There it is.
All right, moving at old man computer speed here. So, my name's Ben Ritter. I'm the advisor for Society of Automotive Engineers, Baja, and Formula. And the alumni that are on know that I have a hard time saying no to students. So I am also the Engineering Society of Detroit advisor again. Robert McGee, who runs Engineering Society of Detroit, post-pandemic has really done a great job at trying to open up the Engineering Society outside of just the Detroit metro area. And one of the projects that CMU has gotten involved in is the Girls in Engineering Academy that ESD puts on to give an opportunity for middle school and high school women to come and see what technology related, engineering related careers might look like. That was actually hosted at CMU this year, and one of our formula members up here was actually doing some of the instruction. And you'll hear a little bit later about Dan, the guy in the picture here. He's doing some pretty cool stuff with formula. I won't steal their thunder though. We just got back from the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. That's the predominant thing that ESD does is provide opportunities for networking and to get out and see industry in action. So we did all the obligatory pictures, got our picture in front of Joe Louis after I explained who Joe Louis was and why there's a statue. And then we went and looked at all the cars. The ESD also hosted a networking session for the students with Ford, Magna, several other vendors. We're down there for them specifically to talk about and send in their resumes. And while we were down there, there were some big shooters that were rolling around. And this lady, the governor of the state of Michigan, was down there with the Michigan Economic Committee. And she stopped by while we were out in our little soiree out back. And we got to have our picture taken and had a nice quick little visit with her. So got to show the students there's no telling what kind of networking opportunities you get when you go down and go do stuff with Robert McGee. And this is the entire group that went down to that ESD sponsored North American Auto Show event. We're going to be working with working with Robert McGee with Lyft out of Detroit as the next project. So stay tuned for some more cool things. And now I'm going to pass this off to the guys from Formula.
Right. Can everyone see this all right? Yes.
All right. So welcome everybody to our 2024 Formula SAE alumni presentation. Lovely to have all you guys here. I'm William Fagan, a freshman here at Central Michigan studying international business.
And I'm Charlie Zhu, a freshman also here at CMU studying marketing.
Let us introduce you to our team. So Formula SAEV, our program, gives student engineers practical experience in the areas of automotive design and manufacturing. As you can see, they are able to take the lessons that they learn in the classroom and put them into practical and real use in our workshop. They have access to a lot of professional, social, and educational opportunities that are not available to the general student population. Formula SAE members have the opportunity to attend industry-exclusive events hosted by some of the largest auto manufacturers in the United States, like Ford, GM, and Chrysler, where they can network with some of the top executives of these companies and make connections that will last for their whole career.
In the middle of June, we will be competing in a SAE hosted event where we will bring our car and compete against other universities from all over the world, from Singapore, Germany, Canada, and many other large universities. We will be doing a series of tests that measure our car's performance and that will give us lots of data. And regardless of how we do, we will get lots of feedback from professionals from the SAE, and we will be able to bring it back to the workshop and be able to perform for next year's EV and for following seasons. Our team is made up from students all across CMU's campus. Our students study many different things. We have engineers, obviously, and then we have business people like me and Will. We have computer science, technology, and even geology. And what's super cool about this is that people like me and Will, we don't know anything about engineering kind of stuff, but we can come in and if we want to learn how to weld, they'll teach us. And if people want to learn about business stuff, we can help with that. And it's cool because anybody's welcome, any major's welcome, and that's super cool.
So like Ben was talking about, our powertrain lead, Dan, who is doing that thing for ESD, is also the lead of our powertrain team. He's doing really important stuff for our car. He's got some cool stuff going on just next week, I think, where he will be flying down to California to do a Tesla battery safety workshop. So he'll be able to take information from some of these top industry representatives and bring that back to our shop to help us be safe and to help us make a better battery for our car. Our CAD team, computer assisted development team, is in charge of making like 3D models of our car and its parts so that we can have visual representations of what we're making before we make it. And we'll be able to kind of see what the car looks like before it's even in production. And it's cool to like kind of stand behind Caitlin, look at her screen, and then look at what the EV1 looks like now. And then as each part gets added, it gets closer to this representation. And it's cool to watch it all come together. Of course, we still have CNC and welding and machining, and it's crucial for assembling an efficient and race-ready vehicle. As intimidating and dangerous as it can seem sometime, anyone in the shop is welcome to go do welding. You see on the right here, we have Hannah, who's an international business major like myself, and she's our social media manager. And she decided that she wanted to do welding, and she was able to ask some Formula people, some of our leads, and they taught her how to do it safely. And now she can help us put together social media stuff and help us put together the car.
Our CNC team uses high-end Haas machinery. And for me, as a Formula One fan, seeing Haas on TV and then coming into the workshop, seeing all these Haas machines that we use, it's super cool to be sponsored by them, but also know that we used high-end machinery and high-quality products. And as you can see on the right, we have Matt, who's one of our lead CNC guys, and he is using one of the Haas machines, and he can use his knowledge to bring it to a future career and another job. Our business team, me, Will, and our business leads, Nathan and Alec, are in charge of the business side of Formula SAE. We are responsible for fundraising, getting donations and sponsorships, and and we do marketing, and we also have a business presentation in February in Frankenmuth that we will have to do.
All right, so EV1 is our first ever time doing a fully electric car. And we're still looking out for some donations, sponsors, and industry connections to contribute to our team's success in the upcoming competition. The cost of EV1 is projected to be around $60,500. It's pretty steep. And as much as CMU gives us and the spaces and everything, we're still going to rely on some donations. So anything, whether that's money, industry contacts, or some really good advice, would be greatly appreciated by our team. Thank you all for tuning in to our presentation. If you guys have any questions about donations, sponsorships, or wish to send us some advice, contact one of us at the emails listed below and check out our Instagram. On Wednesday, November 15th, we will be hosting a big alumni event in the shop, a Friendsgiving Wednesday, if you will, where we'll have a potluck in the shop, and me, Charlie, a ton of the Baja and Formula kids will be there in the shop. You can take a tour with us, ask us some questions. It's going to be really fun. We'd love to have you by. And if you guys have any more questions about the presentation, I think we have a few minutes to field them now. Is that right, Ben?
Yes,
That's
yes,
right.
we do. I'll jump in there. Yep. Sorry, thanks, Ben. Did you have something you wanted to wrap up with? Sorry.
Nope, the students finished up for me. I'm available for any questions. It's nice to see some alumni faces in the crowd. It's been a while for some of you guys.
Can you hear me?
Hoffman. Oh, yep, I can hear you.
Yes.
You ever show motion pictures of your racing?
Like video?
Yeah.
We
Motion pictures of the
we
racing.
were attempting it in our presentation, but it didn't come out well. The videos wouldn't play right.
You
Well,
want
that's
to try and
something to
grab
keep work-
something from, you want to try and grab some from the K drive and just try it direct?
In the chat.
I can try, yeah.
Because I know PowerPoints, it crashes PowerPoints to have too much for video in.
Hey Ben, this is Marcellus here. I just want to say something to the Formula guys. I'm proud to see where you guys are going and where you're pushing. I actually started the Formula team back in 2012 with Ben, and just to see the integration of having the business guys working alongside of engineering and marketing, that was exactly what my vision was, setting up the team, and I'm proud that you guys are continue pushing and integrating and using all of your skills amongst the entire University of Central Michigan. If you do have any questions or you want some information, I can try to help get you guys direction with GM as far as who to get in connection with for sponsorship. So don't hesitate to reach out and I can try to field any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
That means
that's
a lot.
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcellus. I noticed we also have a couple questions sitting there in the chat. So one is from Remington's iPad Pro. Why are the travel budgets so much different between the two teams?
You guys want to field that?
Yeah, so I didn't catch exactly what Formula's budget for travel was. So with their help, I can kind of answer that question. So what was your guys' travel budget?
No, the MIS is where the Formula race always is. So they basically never need to leave the state. And Baja races are held all over the country. We're blessed for this next race season that there are going to be 2 of them in the Midwest. The third one's in California. So that is pretty expensive.
Thank you.
And so it looks like you were able to get that video into the chat. Nick and Gavin, looks like.
Yeah,
So
that's just one video I had on my available on my camera roll. It's a little bit difficult to access some of the files in our K drive that we have.
We're on a personal computer right now. We're not connected to one of the campus computers.
Okay. So actually, Wendell, I was able to get this connected up to play. I've downloaded and I'm able to play it. It's oh, maybe you can hear the sound. I don't know if I can share that. Sorry, I'm having problems with sharing preferences. It's not going to let me do that. So, Wendell, do you see the video in the chat? Are you able to download that?
No, no.
Okay. We'll see if we can get you one. Might be a little bit big to email, but we'll see if we can get you some, and actually direct everybody who participated here to some places where you can watch it, because I know we've definitely taken video for promotional purposes and other things that we've got around, and as Ben says, so we can maybe get some of that out and accessible to people.
Yeah, we actually have, if you're familiar with where campus is, out behind the baseball field, that facilities management has let us have a little test track out there. So they've got quite a few little videos from things that I'm always surprised that they were able to get done out there. We'll have to get them shared. Do you have an email that we could be in contact with and maybe drop some files?
Are you asking Wendell?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, anybody that's interested.
Yeah. You want my email address?
Well, I could email them to you if you're interested. Otherwise, Derek Beebe's got some old YouTube videos.
Okay.
I have everyone's addresses, Ben, so I can be happy to
perfect.
give that to you so you can share with the group.
Baja want to talk about their technical challenges for this year?
Yeah, so four-wheel drive, like I stated, was one of the biggest challenges we struggled with. Our turning radius suffered a little bit, as well as suspension was pretty different this year for us, because we had axle shafts going through where the front shocks used to mount. They used to mount on the lower A-arm, and we kind of can't do that anymore with our previous design because there's an axle there. So that changed a lot for us. It changed all of the geometry, and that's something we're actually working on correcting right now. And that was probably our biggest one, I believe. We struggled a lot with uprights and front suspension.
I see Nathan's on. You want to talk about your EV challenge?
Yep. So my name is Nathan Holder. I'm the president for our Formula team here at Central. First of all, I would just like to say thank you. You know, it's really cool to see people like Marcellus. You know, that's a pretty cool opportunity for you to be able to see what we're doing now. And then also for Wendell, I know that we have a promotional video on our Instagram, if you're able to see that. If not, I'm sure we can get that emailed to you as well. And as for the technical issues, EV is a pretty difficult challenge. We have, compared to last year, we just had one guy, Daniel Thanasu, we've already discussed, is our powertrain lead. But now we have a wider range of students. We have computer engineers, computer science, and everyone's really interested in it. And it's awesome to see our team grow. But the accumulator for our battery pack is going to be our biggest challenge. When we went to Tesla last year, they described to us the challenges, and they said that about out of 70 teams, if you just pass inspection and we have a good accumulator, we're automatically going to be looking at top 15. So that's how difficult the accumulator can be. And that's what we need to buckle down on. We're looking to see if, you know, we can get some help from a potential company to give us some hands-on experience with building an accumulator. None of us have really done anything like that before, so it'd be really cool to get an opportunity like that.
For the alumni that are on here, one of the neat things as the advisor is to watch how the big challenges are just a giant circle. Like it's like Groundhog Day. They hit the back parking lot and realize I can't turn left, and then come back into the shop. You know, and that steering geometry does matter. It's not just a suggestion, and you can blow out your rear end if you don't have your geometry just right. But it's a pretty fun experience. If you guys are ever in the neighborhood, I hope you come back through the shop. It'd be good to see some of you guys again.
Should have the shop open for homecoming. Then.
Yeah, you can come for homecoming.
I'm
still
up
a
there.
farmer, so I'm still going to be on the farm, but The guys are in the shop.
Yeah, with that, if you're thinking of a particular date or time, whether it's homecoming or some other time, just drop us a line and let us know what you're thinking. And yeah, if there's students in the shop, we're happy to have you come by and check it out.
I'm going to include Ben's contact information too in the follow-up email. So he had mentioned yesterday that that would be a good way to set up something like that.
Thanks, Allison. I was also going to mention that, especially in the EV space with Formula, we've gotten some interesting things started with DTE. And of course, you think of them as the energy corporation, but they also have a fleet of vehicles. And we have a close relationship with the VP of operations, Bob Richard, who's really reached out and got some of this technical team that are also struggling with, how do you electrify an entire fleet of vehicles in support of DTE's operations. They're facing some of the same challenges in principle that the Formula team is facing as they switch over to the EV space as well. So they've been really helpful in terms of kind of in-kind support and coming by and really looking at common things in the shop, essentially, both in their operation and our operation here. I don't know if
they've been to the shop several times now, and we're developing a proposal for working with DTE specifically, but that work has also helped get us in the door at Dana Corporation with their EV branch, Exalt over in Midland. We've got a contact in there now. It's allowed us to start the opportunity to get some things going. Where it goes from here, I don't know, but as I'm looking out at an awful lot of faces that probably remember going on a similar path, that well, I don't know what's next, but we're going to go find what's out there and we'll come back. But Dana has donated some motors that we can use for a test bench. So we've got a dyno test bench in the shop. I think DTE might be able to help us out with getting some electrical test benches around to start working with line voltage and DC current, which, as Nathan was talking about, that large voltage DC current, General Motors is actually supposed to be getting online with us to do some online training so we can get more people some sort of a baseline, because our risk management people are very interested in what we're going to do with having college students running 360 volts DC in a car that can do 100 miles an hour. As typical, I know everybody at risk management still.
Yeah, Ben, actually, I had a question about that. The Formula guys, I was on Formula 2020, right during the pandemic, before that too. I went to the competition this last year. Do you guys have a plan set up for if there is a fire? Like the University of Florida, whose car caught fire and burned their trailer? You guys have plans and stuff in place?
Well, we can rent a cube van if the trailer goes up.
Well, I
as
meant
far
more,
as the
more
electrical
shop.
fire stuff.
Yeah. You guys have a plan? You guys always have somebody with a fire extinguisher. I mean, the Florida people, they put a battery in the car, left it sitting there for an hour. Those sort of lines. Do you guys have a person looking out with the fire extinguisher when you guys are working on the electricity batteries and stuff like that?
Yeah, we do have someone trained within like electrical fire specifically. I know Dan, he went down to Dano and they did train him on some safety stuff. We do have a fire extinguisher in our shop, but there's also some more specific ways to extinguish a fire that's done with batteries. It's not just a fire extinguisher, so we have those.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's part of what we've been working with industry on, is trying to figure out what is the right answer, because the official answer for a lot of places is have an evacuation plan.
Exactly my point.
Get it outside the building, because you're not going to put it out. So
thanks, Ben.
Looks like we got a couple questions from Derek in there, in addition to the video. Thanks, Derek. But looking forward to hear more about the 4x4 drivetrain components. And does the shop have insulated tools yet?
Okay, so I can kind of start talking about that four-wheel drive system. So just to, I guess, starting from the power unit, we're running a Kohler motor now. That was a new update from last year. And that motor is outputting towards our firewall, which is different than a traditional Baja car, which outputs to either of the lateral sides. Um, and the way that we kind of like orchestrated our transmission is the chain is situated in between our CVT and our engine, which allows the chain to kind of just like squeeze nice and compactly uh, in that engine space, and then that chain drops to our drive chain tunnel that Gavin was talking about earlier in our presentation. Um, and we're just using a simple two sprockets with a 2-to-1 gear reduction, and um, we're gonna have a multi-part cover that kind of encapsulates all that, just because that's a little bit of a challenge getting all that protected from bystanders outside the car. Um, and then it's just a simple drive shaft with a single U joint. Single U joint.
Yeah. So the drive shaft was one of the things we wanted to do with that was make it easy to take apart in case we wanted to change that gear ratio, whether there was a hill climb or rock climbing. So we did that with a few sleeves, and it actually worked a lot better than our previous design. It kept everything more concentric, and then that runs through a pillow block with a bearing, and then it goes into a U joint, and that kind of alleviates a lot of the slop and takes that to the front differential. And then once it gets to the front, it goes to the CVs, and that's.
And then we're running two Yamaha differentials. That's also different. We're not directly outputting from a house-made gearbox to our rear wheels. I hope that kind of answers. I don't know how thorough you wanted to hear about the four-wheel drive, but we'd be happy to show you because it really is like a cool system we've mocked up.
Yeah, I've got a couple more questions for the four-wheel drive. My name is Derek. I was on the Baja team from 2010 to 2014. I was the vice president of the team for a few years. So four-wheel drive, back when I was doing it, there were only a couple teams that were doing it, and there were massive reliability issues with it. Michigan State, I believe, was one of them, and they had lots of problems with it. So it was pretty uncommon back in the day when I was doing this kind of stuff. But very cool to see that you guys are doing it, and it sounds like you're going down the right path with it. My questions are, one, why did you try to go four-wheel drive? Because we ran many races, hill climbs, pulls, all that stuff, and certainly it would have been an advantage, but it would have taken away a lot of things like weight, maneuverability, top speed, that kind of thing. So why did you go with four-wheel drive, and what were some of the trade-offs that you had to kind of realize that you were going to make to go that route?
Okay, so to answer your first question, four-wheel drive this year is a requirement for us. So in the series, they require four-wheel drive now. But a couple years ago, when it was optional, you got bonus points for it. And our team tried it out. We had a design that we didn't love at all. And that was the design that Gavin was pointing out caused our driver to be situated in the cabin very awkwardly. It really hurts your turning radius because of those front axles. There are a ton of problems, and our current design is an effort to alleviate a lot of the ones we've discovered.
One thing I can speak on experience about, last February up in Houghton, I was actually driving that car that we showed, and the cars that were not four-wheel drive at that time they couldn't even compete. It was massive difference, and like he said, the one thing I really noticed was the steering radius, but I hadn't driven a car that was two-wheel drive prior to that. But I do believe, like you said, the weight, there's more weight in the front now, which is a change. And I believe it helps with our center of gravity a little bit by pulling that more forward, because previously all the weight was in the rear. So that was one benefit.
The other part of it was SAE. The students were getting too good at this. So like Derek Beebe remembers having some of the heftier cars on the track that had a hard time going 15 miles an hour. And we were pretty impressed when we got down to 350, 400 pounds. once they got down 300, sub 300, they were ripping pretty fast. So it became a safety issue. So they intentionally stole some horsepower.
That makes sense. It's interesting to see that Baja's gone that way, implementing four-wheel drive as mandatory. And because yeah, I mean, back in the days when they had races, you had to do flotation and things like that. You know, far cry from those days. But very cool to see all the stuff that you guys are doing. Great to see the team is still moving forward and being competitive. You know, I've been watching social media and seeing pictures of the cars over the years, and very cool improvements over what myself and the team that we had back then was able to do. And you know, we were able to progress some things as far as weight and speed and maneuverability, and just seeing what the team has done over the last, you know, almost decade now is pretty darn impressive. So keep it up, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Derek, your car is now the EV Baja car. It went really fast 2 or 3 times. And then the rear end said, no.
Well, the fact that it's still that car is still in existence, but I'm glad to hear that.
It's lived a few lives. It's keeping up with the camo car from the other Derek. That's kind of the shop horse. That's where the freshmen start on building and monkeying around and learning how stuff works.
Yep, good. There was a lot of 1/4-inch plate steel that went into that car, making sure that it didn't fall apart. So good to see it still up and going.
You might actually find this kind of interesting. I don't know if you had anything to do with the rear suspension on that car, but one of the things we're actually kind of stealing from that is that the rear bracket that held the lower swing arm. We're going to use something very similar to that for radius links in the rear. So
very cool. So yeah, I was pretty much the main builder of 3 cars for the team, and my friend Travis, who was the president for a couple of years, he was pretty much the main designer of the frame and things like that. So he and I worked pretty closely together on design and then building it. So I was the welder. I would notched all the tubing. Travis kind of did a lot more of the work on the Haas when we got to that point with gearboxes, and when we progressed our knowledge to that point, that was, you know, way back in the infancy. You guys are doing that stuff left and right now, but there was a lot of Bridgeport work and lathe work and all that stuff that had to be done on ours. So, but very cool to see that you guys are still using the cars that we built and making them faster and making them better. So very cool.
We have a theoretical top speed of 30, by the way. So that's our target for this new car, even with 4-wheel drive. Thought I should throw that
awesome. Because back in 2014 timeframe, the cars with 2-wheel drive and the lightest cars on the track were doing 30 to 35. So if you guys are getting to that point, that's huge improvement in where we were. And what horsepower engine do you guys have now? You said you had a Kohler engine. Are there multiple engines that can be used now, or does everybody have to have that same Kohler?
So everyone has to have that same Kohler. It is a 14 horse motor, but they still make us restrict down to 10 and limit our RPMs and everything like that.
But what we've kind of learned from other teams is that the Briggs didn't actually output 10 horsepower as advertised. Yeah.
No.
So what we've learned is that the Kohler with the restriction is actually outputting 10 horsepower. So even though on paper it's no change, we're really gaining just, you know, a little over a horse.
Yeah, there were a couple of years that we ripped apart those Briggs engines and tried to do what we could with them, as far as, you know, running synthetic oil in them and tuning carbs and stuff like that, trying to get every little bit that, you know, that we could out of them. But they definitely weren't 10 horsepower, and there wasn't a whole lot you could do with them, but you could get a little bit out of them. We had a couple that ran like rape apes, but nothing like an actual 10 horse Kohler probably. So very cool, guys. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
We got one more question came in from Marcellus about Formula. Do you have plans to compete in Lincoln?
So as of now, the actual only driving competition we are planning on is this June competition at MIS. We were pretty optimistic we were planning on competing last year as well. We got fully registered, but then our motor came from, I believe, Slovenia, and it took 6 months to ship. So we didn't even get our motor until May or April, I believe. So now we're on a 2-year plan. We should have it done. Our goal is end of this semester, maybe early next semester, and then once it starts to warm up, we can do testing, and we should have a pretty good car for MIS. But MIS is the only driving competition we are planning for right now.
Okay. I asked that just because just with GM, I do a lot of autocross competitions within GM internally. So we go out to a lot of the local regional autocross events, and we even go out to Lincoln, Nebraska. And I've seen, just my experience being out there, there's been quite a few other Formula SAE teams that compete in nationals. So it's just good exposure to, again, test and tune your car and see what it can do in different elevations. So
yeah, and we plan on having I believe the CR16, an older ice car, getting fixed up. It's right now it's sort of like the freshman project to get that running, and so we might try to take that out and maybe have a competition or two maybe next year when we have it running.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the other things for the alumni, the race season is a lot different than it was when you guys were around, like how they had a race basically every weekend all summer long, and then the season was done. They've spread them after COVID or during COVID, they spread them way out. So the last Baja race is actually in September now. So we're still kind of grappling with what does a normal season look like and what can we get to, because the seniors are all gone by the time September rolls around. So my preference was always to get out to Lincoln. It's a better time of year for me to be away from home, and it's less competitive. It's easier to get into. It's got a lot of advantages.
What part will CMU play in the Holly, Michigan Baja race?
They're sending their best collegiate advisor they have to help with sponsorship and fundraising. So.
Oh, they're bringing Pablo back.
Nice. Zing. He says hi, by the way. Let's see, what are the biggest funding needs, cash or equipment? Honestly, cash solves a lot of problems. We can turn that into anything, but if there's gifts in kind, I would love to find, I'm super happy about the Exalt partnership that we're trying to get going. If we could just run down the road to Midland and we've got all the components, if we could have somebody who's expertly trained in assembling them to learn from, I'd feel an awful lot better about that. So kind of just depends on what you're able to help with. Kelly Rickert, one of the alumni from 12 years ago or so, he's been kind of helping out with advice and direction. He works in the EV sector. We'll take anything we can get as far as help and pushing them down the right road. Internships for the students, job leads when they're done. The alumni in particular know the importance of that. It's been fun to watch how they've helped each other open doors and move around, go to different places. They understand that networking bit.
Perfect. Well, I'm in the advancement side of the house, Carlin Alumni House, and so that's what my focus is on funding for the programs for CMU and that. So that's kind of why I'm sitting in today, is to learn a little bit more about your programs, what your needs are, and I think Ben, we've spoken in the past about some of this as well. So I will be keeping my eyes open.
Thanks, Kelly. I really am amazed by the community really that's built around these teams. It's been amazing to see here. You know, COVID times were very difficult, I think, for everybody, difficult for projects like this, but certainly it, you know, set us back a bit. But I'm just amazed at the spirit of these teams and trying to, you know, rise from that and do a couple of new things. Again, on a budget that isn't particularly huge at the moment. And so we really appreciate stuff that comes in. But I think the number of alumni that show up to, you know, to events like this, conversations like this, and to particular events is a real testament to the culture that these vehicle teams are building. And it's just fun to watch even on here how connecting across a couple different generations of cars is happening. So that's really, really cool. Right. Well, are there any, we've got just a couple minutes left. I want to be respectful of people's time. Are any last questions for our students or for Ben or me?
Yeah, I have a question. Not really a question. It's more of a statement to the Formula Boys in team. The alumni that work here at GM, myself, Brian, some other ones, we are more than welcome to come up and help you guys get ready for comp, whether it's through going through the rule booklet. Me and Brian both sat through tech inspection for both this last year. We're more than welcome to come up. You guys just got to get a hold of us. That's the hardest part, is the tech inspection. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying before, you know, it's out of 70 teams, only 15 teams might get through. So, I mean, we would love all the help we can get. You know, we need any little bit. So, I mean, I'll definitely be reaching out to you.
Yeah, Ben has all of our contact info. So.
Yeah. To all the teams, I have a lot of measurement reverse engineering tools that I would gladly help all the teams with. I'm not too far from you guys, about an hour and a half away. Technically, you guys are in my territory for work anyway, so anything measurement, inspection, reverse engineering related, happy to help.
That would be awesome if you would come back to campus and be the Faro guy that you got to come to.
Exactly.
20 years ago, he had them model the super mileage car with a magic marble. It was pretty cool.
I can't think of a single job that I've had in my career that wasn't directly related to my time involvement with SAE at CMU. So happy to pay it forward.
And I don't have everybody's contact information. Marcellus, we're only Facebook friends. I do not have your phone number. You should shoot me a.
I'll give it to you, Ben.
We have it in our office, Ben. Allison and I can get it to you guys. Yes, that's how we invited them all on the call.
Yes, I just emailed you all of it. So you should have it soon in your inbox.
Perfect. I love a good email.
Let us know if you need more. We got you. And I will make sure, I saw someone in the chat ask for the giving links. So I will make sure to include those in the email as well.
Well, with that, Ben, any last words before we sign off?
No, I appreciate you guys all coming. It was nice to have some interaction again.
Yeah, thanks so much. We really appreciate you being here. Allison, any things as we close this out?
I don't think so. Just thank you, everyone, and look for more emails for future campus conversations.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.